Tell me something. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? Inside your own home? Jason felt that too. He ignored it, until he found 43 photographs of himself, taken while he was sleeping, by something living inside his walls. This is the photograph. Let's begin. Jason Merrill found the photograph on a Tuesday morning. It was tucked inside a book he had bought from a secondhand store 3 weeks earlier. An old hardcover, dusty and cracked at the spine, the kind of book that had clearly passed through many hands before reaching his. He had been meaning to read it since he bought it, and had finally gotten around to it that morning, settling into his armchair with a cup of coffee. The photograph slipped out from between pages 40 and 41 and landed face down on his lap. He picked it up and turned it over. It was a family photograph, black and white, slightly faded at the edges, the kind of quality that suggested the late 1970s or early 1980s. A man, a woman, and 2 children, a boy and a girl, standing in front of a house, smiling. A perfectly ordinary family photograph, the kind that ends up forgotten in boxes and old books, and the back drawers of people who no longer remember where it came from. Jason studied it for a moment, felt the faint sadness of forgotten things. Then he looked at the house behind the family, and set his coffee down very slowly. The house in the photograph was his house. Not similar, not the same style or the same era. His house. The exact same porch railing, the exact same bay window on the left side, the exact same crooked weather vane on the roof that he had been meaning to fix since he moved in. He lived in that house. He turned the photograph over. On the back, in faded pencil, someone had written a date. October 14th, 1978. Jason had bought the house 8 months ago. Built in 1965, the realtor had told him. One previous owner for 30 years, then empty for a decade before Jason bought it. He had never thought to ask what happened to the previous owner. He did some digging that afternoon. Property records, old newspaper archives, the kind of rabbit hole the internet makes dangerously easy to fall into. The previous owner was a man named Harold Greer. Moved in with his family in 1968. Wife named Carol. 2 children, a boy named Thomas, a girl named Diane. Jason looked at the photograph again. A man, a woman, a boy, a girl. He kept reading. In October 1979, 1 year after the photograph was taken, Harold Greer called the police from the house. The report was brief and clinical in the way old police reports are. Harold had told the dispatcher that there was someone in his house who would not leave, that he had found the person in different rooms on different nights, that his children were frightened. Police found nothing, no signs of entry, no evidence of anyone. 3 weeks later, Harold Greer moved his family out of the house overnight, left everything inside, furniture, clothes, photographs, everything. Just took his family and walked out and never came back. He never gave a reason. Not on record anyway. Jason sat back in his chair and looked around his living room. His living room. With Harold Greer's old walls and Harold Greer's old floors and Harold Greer's old windows looking out at the same street they had looked out at for 60 years. He looked at the photograph one more time and noticed something he had completely missed the first 2 times. In the bay window behind the family, the window to his left, the one he could see from where he was sitting right now, there was a face. Pale, indistinct, but unmistakably a face, looking out, from inside the house. While the family stood outside smiling, Jason looked at the bay window across the room. Empty, just gray afternoon light and the street beyond. He looked back at the photograph. The face in the window was still there, and it was not looking at the family. It was looking directly at the camera. He told himself there was an explanation, a reflection, a trick of light on old film. He put the photograph face down on the bookshelf and made dinner and watched television and went to bed. At 2:14 a.m., he woke to the sound of a photograph being taken. That specific sound, the soft mechanical click of a shutter, coming from somewhere inside his bedroom. He lay still in the dark, heart accelerating, and told himself it was a dream remnant. A sound carried over from sleep. Then he heard it again. Click. And again. Click. He sat up and turned on the bedside lamp. His bedroom was empty. Everything in its place. Nothing moved, nothing disturbed. He checked his phone. No camera app open. No notifications. He lay back down, left the lamp on. In the morning, he found his phone on the nightstand exactly where he had left it. He picked it up to check the time. His camera roll had 43 new photographs, all taken at 2:14 a.m., all taken in his bedroom. He opened the first one with a hand that had already started shaking. It was a photograph of him, asleep, taken from the corner of the room, close enough that whoever, whatever, had taken it could have reached out and touched him. He swiped to the next one. Closer. The next. Closer still. The next. He stopped swiping. In the 31st photograph, he was no longer asleep. He was sitting up, eyes open, lamp on, looking directly at the camera, looking directly at whoever was standing in the corner of his room holding his phone. And in the photograph, his expression was not frightened. He was smiling. A wide, empty smile that he had absolutely no memory of. He scrolled to the last photograph. It was not of him. It was a photograph of the corner of the room. Empty. Just the wall and the floor and the thin morning light coming under the curtain. But on the wall, scratched into the paint in thin deliberate lines, were words he was certain had not been there the night before. He crossed the room and looked at the wall directly. The scratches were real, deep enough that the plaster showed through beneath the paint. 7 words. I have always lived in this house. He called his sister that morning, told her everything. She drove over immediately, the way good sisters do, and stood in his bedroom looking at the scratches in the wall with an expression that cycled through disbelief and unease and something close to fear. You need to leave, she said. It's my house. Jason. I'm not leaving my house because of scratches on a wall. She looked at him for a long moment. Show me the photographs again. He handed her his phone. She scrolled through slowly. Stopped at the 31st one. The one where he was sitting up, lamp on, smiling at whoever was holding the phone. Jason, she said quietly. In this photograph. I know. I don't remember smiling. I don't remember any of it. It's not the smile. She turned the phone toward him. Look at the lamp. He looked. The lamp was on in the photograph. He had turned it on when he woke to the clicking sounds. He remembered that clearly. But in the photograph the lamp was on his left side. In his bedroom the lamp was on his right. His sister looked at him. This photograph is not of your bedroom. What? The lamp is on the wrong side. The window is on the wrong side. Everything is reversed. She looked around the room slowly. This is a mirror image of your bedroom. Jason took the phone from her. Looked at the photograph. Looked at his room. She was right. Whoever had taken the photograph had not been standing in his bedroom. They had been standing on the other side of the wall, in a space that did not exist. He pulled up the house's original blueprints that afternoon, downloaded from the county records office, scanned copies of the 1965 originals. He spread them on the kitchen table and went through them room by room. His bedroom measured 14 feet by 12 feet according to the blueprints. He got a tape measure. 14 feet by 12 feet. Exactly right. He measured the outside of the house. The exterior wall behind his bedroom measured 19 feet. He stood in the backyard with the tape measure in his hand and did the math 3 times. There were 5 feet of space inside the wall of his house that did not appear on any blueprint. 5 feet wide, running the full length of his bedroom wall. A space big enough for a person to stand in. He went back inside, stood in his bedroom, looked at the wall. He pressed his ear against it. From inside the wall, very faint, very slow, breathing. Jason stepped back from the wall. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A notification. 1 new photograph added to his camera roll. He opened it with fingers that had gone completely numb. It was a photograph of him, standing in his bedroom, taken from inside the wall. Through a gap in the plaster so small he had never noticed it, a thin dark line he had always assumed was a crack. He was looking at the wall. And on the other side, looking back at him through that hair-thin gap, an eye. Jason ran. Out of the bedroom, down the stairs, out the front door. He sat in his car in the driveway and called the police. They came. They searched. They found the gap in the plaster, confirmed it, agreed it was unusual. They knocked on the wall. Hollow, they said. Possible crawl space, possible old structural cavity, not unheard of in houses this age. They found no entry point. No way in, no way out. No evidence of any person. They left. Jason sat in his car for a very long time. Then he drove to a hardware store, bought the heaviest sledgehammer they had, drove back home, went upstairs to his bedroom. He swung the sledgehammer into the wall. Once, twice, 3 times. The plaster cracked and crumbled and fell away in thick chunks, and the wooden lath behind it splintered and broke. He made a hole large enough to see through, pulled out his phone, turned on the flashlight, and shone it into the darkness beyond the wall. A space. Narrow, maybe 5 feet wide, running the length of the bedroom. Bare concrete floor. Bare brick walls. A low ceiling thick with old cobwebs. Empty, but on the concrete floor, in the thick dust that had gathered over what must have been decades. Footprints. Hundreds of them. Walking back and forth, the same path worn smooth by years of repetition. And pushed against the brick wall, positioned directly behind the gap in the plaster. A chair. Old. Wooden. The kind of chair you sit in when you are settling in for a long time. And on the seat of the chair, placed with deliberate, careful precision, a photograph. Jason reached through the hole with a shaking hand and picked it up. He turned it over. It was a photograph of him, asleep in his bed, taken from the chair, taken from inside the wall. He looked at the quality of it, the color, the clarity. It was not old. It was not faded. It had been taken last night. He turned it over. On the back, in neat handwriting, was a date, last night's date, and beneath it, for words that made every hair on his body stand at once. See you tonight, Jason.